what's Project Drawdown? Well, we have two aims. First is to change the discourse around global warming and climate change. So if you're like most people, when you hear or think about global warming, you're thinking that is that giant, huge problem that I really don't want to think about because the only thing I can do is change my light bulbs, recycle, and hope that President Trump changes his mind about Paris Climate Accord. So my first slide says, name the goal. And, and so that's what we set out to do, is to name drawdown as the goal. So it's not enough to try to limit global warming to 2 degrees or even 1 degree. What we need is drawdown. We need to reverse global warming. So we've co-opted that word drawdown from the financial field and from the military, and we're applying it to climate to mean the point in time when greenhouse gases in the atmosphere peak and begin to decline. And if we can do that, we believe we can reverse global warming. So, okay, so, and along the same lines, we want to change the discourse around climate from one of overwhelming despair to one of opportunity. And because these overwhelmingly negative messages, which is how we usually see global warming framed in the media, they lead to despair and they lead to apathy, because people just feel it's too much, I can't do anything, I'm going to not even think about it. So secondly, we set out to find out, is it even possible to achieve drawdown? Can we reverse global warming? And so Project Drawdown is what we call a living research project, a living research program. So what we did was we brought together a coalition. So a coalition of researchers from around the globe. These are most of our 65 research fellows. They are from 23 countries. They're from all different disciplines, from science, business, international development, agriculture, law, just a variety of backgrounds. And they worked for 2.5 years to research existing solutions to global warming. They collected thousands of data points and created mathematical models to calculate the greenhouse gas reduction potential of each of these solutions, as well as the economic cost. So the coalition also includes almost 200 experts in various fields around the world as well, who reviewed the work of the research fellows. And the initial result is the book Drawdown, which is a New York Times bestseller. It's one of the top-selling books on Amazon. And it's a compendium, like a catalog of these solutions. So there are 80 solutions that have been modeled mathematically, and we show in the book the greenhouse gas reduction potential of them and the financial cost if they are scaled over the next 30 years. The book also describes 20 what we call coming attraction solutions. These are solutions that are new on the scene. They're still under development. There's not enough data out there to model their impact, but they will help with reversing global warming. So now, is drawdown actually possible? We determined that yes, it is, if these solutions are aggressively scaled over the next 30 years, and if they're implemented and practiced collectively. Next. So these are the top 20 solutions in terms of their greenhouse gas reduction potential according to our modeling. And this is a living research project, so this ranking will change because we're constantly gathering more data. Situations are changing around the world, so this will shift. But there's some, and I'm not going to spend much time on this because this information is in the book and on our website, drawdown.org. Please visit it. And with a lot of detail about the methodology we use to do the modeling. But one surprising thing I wanted to point out was the ranking of educating girls in family planning, because it goes back to Lauren's talk when she said that the main concern with the women and girls she talked about was the girls wanted to go to school and the mothers wanted the girls to go to school so that they have more economic opportunity. And this has a huge climate impact as well, because it helps to slow the growth of human population by empowering girls to have more choices about when they want to become mothers, reduce the number of child marriages, and then also family planning gives women are more empowered to make decisions about the size of their family, which has a rippling impact. So that's the other point I want to make, is that all of these solutions are what we call no-regret solutions. They should be implemented regardless of their climate impact, because they have economic benefits, financial benefits, human health benefits. So I think this is the far more important slide than the ranking of the top 20, because we can't do it with just that part of the pie that has the large slices. We can only reverse global warming if we implement all of these solutions collectively around the world. And so that is a huge point that I want to make, is that collaboration is essential. That is one of the lessons that we've learned from Project Drawdown, and one of our primary messages, and one of the things that we want to accomplish is collaboration, making that part of the discourse as well, not just the term drawdown, but that also implies collaboration. Okay, and also the point about collaboration, if you think back to the slide with all the research fellows, we purposely have researchers from all around the world, different backgrounds, different disciplines, because all of these perspectives are necessary. It wouldn't be enough to just go to one university, one small cohort of researchers. We wanted to have a broad perspective, because that's what we need. So, okay, so now I'm going to have to talk about myself. So there's been a theme emerging where people have talked about how their path was very circuitous, and I think my path was really circuitous. Okay, so I started out as a lawyer. I practiced law for many years. During that time, I got a master's degree in environmental science just because I loved learning about ecology. Then I was not a person who always knew what they wanted to do. I never really wanted to be a lawyer. It wasn't like from my childhood I thought, I want to grow up and be a lawyer. It was just something that I kind of did, and I never felt like I was on my true path career-wise. But I just tried to, follow my interests, which is why I got the environmental science degree. And then I reached a point where I thought, I can't really do this anymore, because I didn't want to be in an adversarial position anymore. I mean, I love arguing and I love crafting arguments, but you can take that too far. And I had a period of self-reflection. I thought, well, what would I do with my life if I could do anything I want? Now, I don't usually like to share this publicly because it seems a little crazy, but the answer that myself gave back to me was, I would want to be in the circus. So I asked myself, well, what would be your second choice? That's entirely ridiculous. And so, but that's really, I asked my heart's desire, and that's what my heart's desire was. I packed up my entire life. Well, I wrapped up my life in Maryland, where I had lived my whole life, and I moved to California to go to circus school. And and so I have been training to be an acrobat, and so during this time, so I really left an entire career behind, and I had some jobs I worked for a dance studio, I worked for a dance company, I wound up working at the University of San Francisco in a kind of administrative role for an academic department, and I just thought, while I was doing my training, which I loved and really fed my soul. But at the same time, I thought, my career is turning out to be sort of a failure because I was used to a position of status, a career that had some status, and here I was seeming like I had taken a whole bunch of steps backward. So it was a source of distress for me for a long time. But for instance, when I worked at University of San Francisco, one good thing that came out of it is that I got another degree. I really like school. I got an MBA. But more importantly, I learned how to support researchers. I learned a lot about academia and universities. And that is exactly the skill that Project Drawdown needed. When I first came to Project Drawdown, they had researchers spread out around the world. They had 3 cohorts of research fellowships to manage, and that was a skill they needed. So my backward step in my career allowed this fantastic project to happen, which has inspired people around the world, which has kind of coalesced a movement around collaboration to reverse global warming, and I could never have dreamed that up in a million years. So I guess my message is that it's okay to even feel like you're a complete failure, not just not know what path you're supposed to be on, but even to feel like a failure. It can all work out well. Just trust, trust. That's the message I want to give you. So thank you.